Whilst my very questionable creation chugs along in the background, let's spend too much time covering two very different music projects. The band Black Midi and the artist Machine Girl both embody and embrace a maximalist style within their respective music genres and album artwork, an indirect expression of hypermaterialism that favors the inclusion of as many elements as possible, regardless of whether or not the final results are melodic or harmonic, amalgamating into this disease beast that's hard to look away from and stop listening to. When it comes to the music of Black Midi, the maximalism is on immediate sonic display, taking the genre of prog rock, a genre that takes the traditional aspects of rock music and imbues it with classical and jazz sensibilities that had been laid out by bands like King Crimson, Frank Zappa, and Pink Floyd, and eschewing their methodical compositions with ones that are about to implode from the sheer amount of musical elements on display, songs with so much adrenaline that it feels like the musicians are about to suffer a collective heart attack. For Machine Girl, who has described their own music as f***ed up electronic punk, the hints of maximalism movements within the electronic space make it more reasonable to see why an artist like Machine Girl exists. They take the hardcore versions of many electronic genres such as house, techno, and drum and bass, and further amplify those sensibilities with an industrial edge that defined the rise of post-punk, a genre that Black Midi was originally categorized as when they released their debut, and embraces heavy sampling, a nonsensical enmeshment of genres that coalesce into a fever dream that's bizarrely enjoyable to listen to. In terms of lyricism, both Black Midi and Machine Girl are pointing to a universal disillusionment within the digital age in their own ways. Black Midi lyrics often portray a character whose extreme misogyny and misguided masculinity leads to a mental destruction of their worldview, embodying an aggression that alienates one from modern society, such as in their song Welcome to Hell, in which a naval soldier recounts the war to us, the listeners.
Don't stay in the street, lucky I don't shoot on the spot. Our bullets were made for men like you, the impotent idiots God forgot.
Machine Girl's lyrical through lines are not as consistent as Black Midi's by account of many of the songs not having lyrics, but most are critiquing the blatant surveillance one undergoes when surfing the internet. The song Come On Baby Scrape My Data is an exasperated acceptance of that exact through line, almost egging the algorithms on to completely define who Machine Girl is as a person, accepting the disillusionment of being spied on and sold products to with satirical nonchalance.
Tell me what I want from what I haven't said. Am I really that easy to read? So take the pain, please.
With analysis of both bands out of the way, let's look at how the album artwork of both music projects reflect a disillusionment and maximalism that's explored thoroughly within their music. Black Midi arguably maintains a controlled maximalism within their album artworks, designed by David Rutnick, sticking to a defined color palette but adding noise to the image through bubbly, liquid, painted streaks, and then these melted parts of some factory, car, or a microcosm of the manufacturing industry. There are definable characteristics to be assured, but everything is fragmented and slightly dissolved, breaking off into their own pieces of art, the image overall feeling like it's slowly in the process of being swallowed by a black hole. Machine Girl, by comparison, is more easily definable by making its elements far more discrete, but they are also enveloped in layers of noise and grain, every element of the various album artworks having some blur added on, some directionless color grading, a purposeful attempt to take any human vitality an element had and replace it with digital lifelessness. The artworks are a distillation of the aesthetics of punk and rave music, but recontextualizing them for the modern digital age, serving as an additional level of commentary towards the disillusionment one feels from having the internet play such a large role in one's life. So with the through lines of Black Midi and Machine Girl's music and album artwork covered, I wanted to make an image that felt emblematic of those themes. I wanted it to be purposefully unsettling, garish, and emphasize a digital look. So let's back up on the video that's been playing this whole time. Using Adobe Photoshop, I started by recycling the very same album artworks I've been talking about into my piece, stretching them to inhumane proportions and combining them into this unseemly collage. The extra elements were inspired far more by Machine Girl than Black Midi's artworks, as I took imagery from various video games, creepypastas, and Renaissance paintings to further muddy any sense of clarity the image might have had at one point. I also drowned all of these elements in an absurd amount of grain and noise, constantly messing with the hue and saturation to get the images to produce really unflattering colors, trying to add so much that the overall image is harmful to a passerby's eyes. The final result? Well, I'd say it's about as disillusioned as one can get.